Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another Champions League live preview as Chelsea are to take on Porto in the second leg of the UEFA Champions League quarterfinals. Again in Seville, like it was last week, but officially now in the home leg. And to discuss all of that, we're joined by a first-time guest, but by a very, very special guest, the creator of probably the most famous thread ever tweeted out on Twitter, that has basically written all of the stars into the sky for Chelsea to win the Champions League in 2021. Mr. CFCDUBois, my bro, how are you?
I'm very good. Thanks for that introduction. And I'm really happy to be on. I know it's been a long time coming, so looking forward to this stream.
Exactly. I have no idea why people are calling Dubois a fraud. I don't think he's a fraud because, hey, you can't do nothing less fraudy than creating that thread and then it comes true. Hey, and so far, things are looking good. Things are looking good. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Honestly, it really would. We're on the road to 10,000 subscribers. So the more of you to subscribe, the quicker we can get there. Smash the like button. YouTube loves likes. So, if things have a lot of likes, things are. People love this, so we need to show it to more people. So that's how content creators grow. So if you could smash the like button, that'd be massively appreciated. Use the super chat function if you fancy it. Of course, you don't have to. And yeah, let's just get into this. There's a lot to discuss. Carefree Lewis will join us very, very soon as soon as his stream does finish. But we have a lot of things to discuss. Now, first of all, as you can see, Dubois, Avi is Olivier Giroud. Let's see whether he wants Giroud to start tomorrow or not. That will be an interesting conversation. But let's just get straight into it. What did you make of the first leg? And are you nervous or just pretty confident ahead of tomorrow?
In terms of the first leg, I think it was what we expected in terms of Porto. They came out, they were very physical. I thought they probably didn't deserve to lose 2-0. I think they still created chances. And even if they defended quite well, I just think we got lucky in a way to leave there with 2 goals and not concede a goal. Feel about tomorrow, I think that it's going to be, I think we can predict it. They're going to come out, they're going to have to score 3 goals at the end of the day. They want to go through. So I think you can expect quite a high energy, intense fixture, similar to the first leg. Whether Chelsea will follow the same game plan, I'm not sure. But I don't know, I'm quite intrigued actually to see how it goes.
It really will definitely be intriguing. I mean, I would 100% agree that we were lucky to score 2 goals. I mean, especially the second one was simply a defender's mistake. And obviously, Chilwell did really well to pounce on it. I'm not sure I necessarily agree on that we were lucky not to concede because I know they had a lot of shots, but very few of them actually really troubled Mendy is my sort of logic to it. And I mean, I guess you could argue some of our defenders pulled off some really good blocks and last-ditch tackles or whatever. So it is a fair point, to be fair. And like you touched on already, that will be the kind of interesting part. How will we approach this game? Because so far in the Tuchel, it hasn't really mattered who we've played against. We've always had a game plan, with the one and only minor exception being possibly Liverpool at Anfield. And personally, I feel tomorrow's game could be somewhat similar to the Liverpool game at Anfield. Obviously, Porto isn't like Liverpool, but because we have the 2-0 advantage from the first leg, I think we can afford to be a slight bit more pragmatic. And, those long balls we tried to punt in the first leg already, do that again, but just put a bit more pace up top. We'll see. We'll talk through the lineups that we expect and that we, predict or whatever. We'll get to that in a minute. But just quickly, guys, if you didn't see my stream yesterday, YouTube was messing up weirdly. So if we somehow randomly cut out, just refresh. I think that should bring us back. Because when I watched it back after, we were only ever gone for like a couple of seconds. But seemingly people that watched us live would have had to refresh to actually get that. So if we cut out, refresh, don't go anywhere. That would be good. But I guess with that said, just quickly, which I basically just can confirm, Chelsea's FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City will still be held on Saturday at 5:30. There was obviously a couple of rumours, not sure if you guys have heard, but there was a couple of rumours going about that it might have been pushed earlier in the day to possibly 12:30. But it seems now that will just go ahead as planned. But Thomas Tuchel's press conference, a somewhat disappointing press conference again, where journalists just failed to ask important questions about the fitness situation of, in particular, Andreas Christensen. The only important news or somewhat valuable news we got was the whole Kante situation. I'm not sure, did you watch the press conference or did you hear what was said?
Yeah, I heard it.
Exactly. So what did you make of the comments about Kante? Does that make you feel that Kante will start? Does it make you feel he won't? But what would you do about Kante in itself?
I think the press conference left me more confused, if anything. But because obviously we have Manchester City on the weekend, so it's hard to gauge whether he's gonna prioritize resting him. I know he mentioned his lack of sleep, etc., and lack of workload in training. So maybe he's not going to start tomorrow. But it just doesn't seem like it would make a lot of sense. I would start him personally. I think the way Porto will come out and inevitably try and score goals and be more attacking, you need someone like Kante there to break up the play, etc. So I would play him, but with Tuchel's comments, I'm not entirely convinced that he will.
That is fair. I wonder actually, what did you make of him talking about lack of sleep? Like, I didn't really understand that. Like, I was like, so it sounded like we had some sort of trouble when traveling back, but only him really, because he said, "Oh, Kante couldn't sleep." I'm like, but what about the entire rest of the team? Like, I was a bit confused by that.
Yeah, I was confused as well. I didn't understand entirely, but obviously, I guess, and it's not even time difference wise, it shouldn't be a problem at all. So
No.
I was a bit confused, but obviously there's something there which we obviously don't know about from the outside, which has affected Kante. But yeah, we'll see if it plays an effect on him tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm definitely, obviously not a doctor, right? Maybe if you have a muscle injury, traveling, the sort of air pressure differences make the healing process slow it up a little bit. Maybe that's what he was kind of getting at. It's a tough one. Obviously, Jonathan was trying to get us to do a face reveal of the 100 likes. I was like, 100 likes? We should be getting that regardless. So, that's a bit silly. If we get 1,000 likes, I'll see what I can do, guys. If we get 1,000 likes, I'll see what I can do. But yeah, that's kind of the press conference covered, I guess. And let's talk about the game. Do we expect Porto to just do the same as last time, just even more aggressive because they've got nothing to lose and obviously have a 2-0 to make up? Or do you think they'll change things up? Of course, guys, they have Taremi back, who was suspended last time out, as well as Oliveira. Although I heard some sort of small rumors that he might be a doubt or something, but I haven't heard that confirmed in the slightest. So presumably both of them will be back. How much do you think that will change things for them?
I think obviously they missed their attacking threat in the last game, obviously through various reasons. So that was partly a reason maybe why they weren't so effective in front of goal. But I think tomorrow it's quite easy to predict in the sense that they will have to come out regardless, unless they're willingly choosing to be knocked out tomorrow. I think they'll be through in terms of trying to attack. Whether it just depends on how Chelsea decide to cope with it. You could either sit back and play a cautious approach like we saw against Atletico in the second leg in Liverpool, or Chelsea can try and get that goal, a third goal, which would probably see the end of Porto early doors.
No, exactly. Like that will be it. And my thought was, if they have Oliveira, because of how good their press was, I mean, I won't pretend to have watched Porto all season long, right? And I've done this super detailed analysis of them. But my logic would be, if they played two rather defensive DMs last time out because Oliveira was suspended, and now Oliveira will play, in my logic, that would make beating their midfield a bit easier. As much as there might be a slight bigger threat in terms of them scoring, I think it should make it a little bit easier to beat their midfield. And on that note, I get our next and our second very special guest of the day, Mr. Carefree Lewis G. First of all, bro, how are you? It's not been very long. We saw each other about an hour ago, but how you been in the last hour? And what do you make of that? Do you think it could make Porto easier to beat in midfield?
Yeah, sorry for being so late. We went off in the stream the last 10 minutes. Classic was on a madness. Also, don't get involved in the comment section, but big up everyone who actually jumped in after I told everyone to go over. Big up all you guys. And I'm glad you're all locked in as well. DUBois as well. Great to see you. It's been way too long. I hope everything's good, my guy. Love to hear it, man. What was the question, Laurenz? I didn't even get to that.
Basically, if Oliveira being back in their midfield and him being one of their more dangerous players, but from midfield, like from the 6 or 8 row, what do you want to call it? In my logic, that should make it a bit easier for us to beat and break their midfield. While last time it was so difficult for us to actually get past their midfield because their press was so good and they were so close with the back four. If they have a more offensive player in there, in my logic, it should make it a bit easier.
Maybe, but that also depends on his defensive work as well. Like, I don't really know enough about Oliveira to be able to make a claim for how he would play, but they had so many attacking chances on us in the first half. I feel like if you drop Oliveira in this team, we could have to deal with an even bigger threat, especially with the fact that they now have to be more attacking minded. Yeah, this false wing back thing, like, bro, the amount of wild takes that we were hearing on this stream was ridiculous.
False eight.
Man,
Please elaborate in a minute.
Chilwell and Emerson in the exact same lineup. I'm hearing false 9 is a system that's past it. No one uses it anymore. False 8s, false 10s. Like, it was ridiculous, man. I swear down. But they attacked us really well, especially in the first half. And if they're going to have Oliveira on the side, who's meant to be their best attacker, it just makes me a little bit more anxious. But same way we handled ourselves really well in the first leg. I feel like we're going to have an even bigger test, but we were going to have that test anyway because we've got a 2-0 away goal aggregate lead against them. They now have to come out and play with much more intensity and with a much more of an attacking mindset than they did in the first leg. So I'd anticipate that anyway. So, yeah, false 1. Like, that was just me taking the piss at that point. But, yeah, like, I anticipate a much more attacking game from Porto. I think we need to be a lot more on our toes. I don't know how our midfield is going to handle the press because we struggled with that in the last game. But I'm intrigued as well because it was the moments of magic from Mason Mount that really turned things around for us. It's easy to say we need another moment of magic because, of course, we fucking need a moment of magic if we want to turn it around, same way we always do. But the incentive is a lot more on Porto than we do. We just need to cope with it. We coped with it well enough in the first leg. I don't see why we can't do the same in this leg too.
100%. And Flyers comment here saying that Tuchel said we will treat the game as if the first game didn't happen, as if it was just 0-0. Personally, I feel it's one of those standard manager phrases when that's just obviously not true, because it does make a difference whether you won the first leg 2-0, especially when it was officially the away leg. Although I guess doesn't really make that much of a difference because we just can't concede tomorrow then, or can't concede 2 unless we score. But still, it would be weird to me if it just didn't matter because, like you said, the incentive is on Porto. And do we need a moment of magic? I mean, maybe so, but we're fine with a 0-0, so you could argue we don't. What do you make of that one, Dubois? How do you want us to approach the game? In terms of, before we get into the lineups and stuff, how do you want us to approach the game? Do you want to do it like Tuchel has suggested here, basically ignore the first leg result and just play it as a normal game for us? Or do you think we should be that edge bit more pragmatic? Obviously not park the bus, that's not us under Tuchel, but just a little bit more pragmatic. Would you see that as a logical thing to do?
I think in pragmatic in a sense, yes, because at the same time, we have to understand that we still do have that lead and there's no point leaving too much space in behind and being too attacking with our play because inevitably Porto, they're going to press us. And like Lewis mentioned, we did struggle at times with their press. And I think Porto gave us a really, really good game. I think one of the hardest tests. I think even Tuchel might have said that himself. I think tomorrow it's going to have to be more of a collective team effort. We have to rely on individual brilliance at times, yes, but I guess those moments of magic, when they come, they're the best thing. I think we've had quite a few of them this season in the Champions League, but I think tomorrow is going to have to be a collective effort and ensure our concentration is at the top of its game, because at the end of the day, if we are going to be pragmatic, it requires a lot of concentration and resilience and, no silly mistakes, which although we haven't seen under Tuchel as much as we have before, we know that some of our players do have the tendency to make mistakes. We've seen it in the past. And but as long as we keep those mistakes out of us and remain concentrated, I don't think we'll have any problems, really.
That's it. Like, without, say the West Brom game didn't happen, I would feel, you could even say 100% confident ahead of this game. West Brom happened, so it kind of puts it into our brains. It's possible to happen, shall we say, right? But I still feel like, unless something stupid happens, like getting a red card early in the game or something, touch wood, it doesn't, right? But we've been so good defensively, and like we touched on already earlier, Porto had chances, but not that many where you're like, oh, they almost scored here. It was more of a case, yeah, they had a few shots, and especially from set pieces, they seemed to be very dangerous, even though, stats-wise, ahead of how many aerial duels do they win ahead of the first leg, we didn't necessarily quite expect them to be so dangerous of it. Maybe that was an error on our part, but it was mostly set pieces where they were super dangerous, plus obviously that shot from, what was it, Diaz, just outside the box that went an edge bit wide. But I don't know. It's definitely an interesting one. I would also agree go with it a bit more pragmatic, rest a certain few players maybe with a view of the game on Saturday. I know it sounds crazy, rest players in a Champions League quarterfinal second leg. I don't necessarily mean rest all the best players. I'm just thinking in terms of someone like Christian Pulisic, and that's kind of who I'm hinting at. And I guess with that said, we should probably just get into talking about the lineup, because we touched on N'golo Kante a little bit already, Dubois and myself, before Lewis joined us. But starting from the back, obviously Edouard Mendy will be in goal. I mean, people have put it in the chat already. Kepa is a false one. I mean, maybe so, but definitely not a number one and starting on the pitch. So Mendy in goal, Rudiger starts, and then even Aspie, you could argue, is maybe not a doubt. But if the Christensen injury ahead of Palace didn't happen, I would have made an argument for playing Silva down the middle and Christensen right centre back, just to give Aspie a rest, because Aspie needs a rest at some point. And I don't know, it just made somewhat sense to me. Now it's probably less likely, but we just don't know about Christensen's fitness situation. Obviously, I know, Lewis, you and myself, and obviously the guys spoke about your kind of ideal back three on your channel already. But why don't you run, the viewers here through what you would like to see here as well?
For me, I'd go for just Christensen, Azpilicueta, and Rudiger. Same back three you've seen for the majority of Tuchel reign. Because for me, with the defense, I just wouldn't change it too much. I think you need to have your set defensive line who understand each other, and you just go with that. That's your starting 11. Obviously, Thiago Silva on quality alone gets into it, but I still have reservations about his match sharpness. And yeah, we're in a good position in this game with a 2-0 away aggregate score, but it can easily turn on its head. One goal, and then suddenly there's a bit more tension around the place. And Silva, if he starts, I don't think plays the full 90 minutes anyway. With that in mind, though, to be fair, we have 5 substitutions in the Champions League, so that wouldn't be too much of a worry in general. I don't know. I wouldn't be totally against that Thiago Silva starting. Like, I'm not going to try and come off with that sort of narrative, but I feel like I'd be more comfortable with the same back three that we've seen for the majority of Tuchel's time. So I'd lean more towards Christensen, Rudiger, Azpilicueta, but we could easily put Thiago Silva in there. Then it's either Aspie and Rudiger on either side. Maybe you have Christensen play on the right-hand side. Either one of those three gets dropped, and it's a big question of why anyway, because they've all been performing well. So I'm not sure which one out of the three does get dropped for Thiago Silva, but it can happen. I'm not saying it can't. I just prefer for the same back three, just for comfort reasons, and plus they all understand each other a lot better. They played together for the longest amount of time.
That is a very fair argument. Dubois, what about yourself?
I totally agree. I think as much as we all know Thiago Silva is a world-class centre-back and he'll make any team look better, but if you consider the 3 centre-backs that have been in good form for Chelsea, they haven't put a foot wrong. I mean, you can forget the Rudiger own goal, but apart from that, they've been faultless. And in such a high-pressure game, I think Thiago Silva is obviously 36 years old. He's not on the young side of things. And we saw against West Brom that, it's going to take time. His match sharpness clearly wasn't at the level you'd expect. And if he was going to get substituted anyway, I'm not sure if you go into a Champions League quarter-final, it's, to have that as like a set thing. I don't think Thiago Silva is in the right match sharpness, has the right match sharpness for that to be the case. So I'd go with Azpilicueta, Christensen and Rudiger based off the fact how well they've done together. And I don't think it's the right game to introduce Thiago Silva, especially after we saw how rusty he looked against West Brom.
Yeah, no, I mean, you both make very fair arguments. Obviously, we're talking about what we would start. If I'm thinking about more of a predicted 11, I'm rather confident it will be Thiago Silva, simply because, and I touched on this on Lewis's channel earlier already, Christensen didn't even make the squad against Palace. So I would be surprised if he, between Saturday and Tuesday, can just be fit enough to start. Like, that would surprise me, if that makes sense. And I do want to make this one other case about Thiago Silva, because Dubois has made a fair point in terms of the plan was against West Brom to play him for about an hour and then bring Christensen on for him. And you can say, well, if he does need that to get fully back into it at his age and after quite a long spell on the sidelines due to injury, couldn't you make the case with how close the top 4 is and how even Brighton, I know that their league position doesn't maybe quite suggest it, but they're a really good team, right? So you could make the case that because we have that 2-0 advantage in this leg already, that this is probably the best game to give him that hour before we make a sub. Also, we have 5 subs in the Champions League, which we've done in the league. You could argue that this is a better place to do so than certainly against Man City and maybe even against Brighton. What do you make of that? Let me go with you, Dubois, first. Do you think that is a fair argument, or do you think that's just me being a bit crazy?
It's definitely a fair argument, I think, especially because it's 5 subs. I mean, with the Premier League, you get 3, so obviously it's obviously a bit of a luxury having 5, and especially with our squad and with the amount of quality we have on the bench, it's definitely more viable, I guess. But for me personally, I just think based off the fact it's a Champions League quarter-final, and any mistake or any lack of match sharpness in such a high-pressure game, you see what it does to the confidence of a team. You see someone like Thiago Silva get sent off, and it seemed as though, yes, okay, 10 men, but the team lost its head. No way should a team going down to 10 men mean we'll concede 3-4 goals, especially to a side like West Brom. No disrespect, but so that's why I just think it will be too much of a risk. Although if you look at it in that sense, yeah, with the 5 substitutions, it's a fair argument to say that this could be the best time to give minutes, especially with the 2-goal advantage.
Exactly. And obviously, like I said, we touched on more what we would like to see. If I asked you, who do you think will start as the back 3? Does that change your 3 that you just named for your team? Or would you still think he would actually pick what you guys would like to see? Again, obviously, we don't know Christensen's fitness situation, so it's a total guess. But again, that's just my perspective. That's why I think it will be Thiago. But Lewis, do you think, in terms of predicted 11, it is more likely to be Thiago, or do you also think he will go with Christensen?
Oh, what I think Tuchel will go for?
Yeah.
I feel like Tuchel, I don't know, to be honest. Like, we're trying to rack Tuchel's brain, innit? It could really go one or two ways. I feel like he'd go for the same back 3 of Christensen, Aspi, Rudiger. But again, anything could really happen. Like I could see Thiago Silva come into the lineup, because we can't predict these lineups. So we always see something happen that we don't expect to happen. Yeah, I feel like it would be Christensen, Aspi, Rudiger, because for me, it's the one that makes the most sense as well. But like, I wouldn't be surprised if Silva starts this one either. And even if he did, I wouldn't be too shocked or angry about it either, because I still think Thiago Silva could do a job. And he'll get subbed off early, and we'll still have another 4 subs to deal with anyway. So we won't have lost too much. There's not really too much damage. The only worry is, will they press him? And will he be able to handle it? But even in the West Brom game, like, his passing wasn't that bad. He just got caught in 2 bad positions. One of them wasn't even a yellow card, and he got sent off. So there's a little worry of ring rust, but it's only a bit of worry. Like, I'm not too necessarily worried about his quality or how we might deal with the scenarios in the game. It's just, I feel like we'd be more comfortable with a back 3 that we've already seen play numerous times.
That is totally fair. I think at the end of the day, we're in a lucky position, like you touched on your channel already. It's just a selection headache, which on a level which we just haven't had in such a long time, especially in such a crucial position as centre-back role. And like you said, we won't be upset either which way. Whoever he picks, if you pick Christensen, I'll be happy. It tells me he's fit. If he picks Thiago, I'm sure Thiago won't have another game like West Brom, and it will be absolutely fine. So, not too many complaints. It's just a decision, pick between the 2, I guess. In terms of the wing-backs, probably the least, controversial, or, there's the least to talk about in that, because it's just the most obvious who starts on both of those sides. Reece James, right wing-back, Ben Chilwell, left wing-back. Are we all in agreement?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah, no difference on that. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, the only thing we need to make sure is that we don't overplay Chilwell, because Chilwell's actually been doing well. None of us actually rate Alonso that highly. We don't know about Tuchel, but none of us do. So it's like, at some point we need to play Alonso, probably, because Chilwell can't probably play every single game until the end of the season. It's not tomorrow that we should do this, but at some point it will have to be Alonso. So, I just dread that day a bit, because, I've been very, very happy with Ben Chilwell. And hey, Chile didn't play that much for England. Only started one of the games, or did he start 2? I cannot remember. But he definitely had 1 game's rest and didn't play so much before that. So someone in the chat saying Chilwell needs a rest. I don't know. I reckon he should just about be fine. But now we get into one of the 2 most topical and difficult to decide positions, the double pivot. Myself and Dubois touched on the Kante situation at the beginning already. Lewis, obviously you said on your channel Kovacic, Jorginho. Have people managed to sway you a little bit, or would you stick with that?
No. I'm still going Jovicic for me. Like, there is no, for me, I've already said, like, we retain possession so much better with the pair of them compared to N'golo Kante. And that's no disrespect against him either. It's just they both play so well together. I've got no reason to take them out. I feel like as well with how well they pressed us in the first leg, Kante would really struggle against the press like we've seen in numerous times this season. So for me, I'd go for comfort, especially with a 2-0 aggregate lead. So I'd go for Jorginho Kovacic.
That is fair enough. Dubois, you hinted at the start that you would start Kante, but I'm not sure if you said it or if I just can't remember, but who would you start him next to?
It's a hard one. I think I would start Kante based on his defensive abilities. I do understand that in terms of being pressed, Kante isn't, the best to have if you compare them to Kovacic and Jorginho. I think next to him, I'd probably have Kovacic based on what I saw against, I think they played together against Manchester United, and how they dealt defensively, I thought was very, very good. Obviously, I think they also played together against Southampton, if I'm not mistaken, and it probably wasn't as good of a performance as they put out against United. But I think the way that they defended, obviously, we do lose a bit of our playmaking ability from midfield without Jorginho there. But with the way Porto will attack us, I think having Kante's defensive abilities, it will just help ease the nerves in a way. Although I do understand that with the way they'll press, it might cause some issues. But as long as we remain compact and the defense does its job, I think Kante Kovacic, I'd probably lean towards that.
That is fair enough. I think for me, I was initially of the opinion a mix of what, just because I was so certain we'd see that, plus of what I wouldn't have minded myself of Kante and Jorginho, mostly because of the sub that happened against Palace. It, like I said this already before, it just seemed like such a planned substitution exactly at the hour mark. Kante comes on for Jorginho. It just had Jorginho and Kante starting together written all over it. That's why Jorginho was taken off early and Kante didn't start. And it just made sense to me. But now that I thought about it more, also after what Tuchel said, I might be swayed to agree with Lewis. Again, we have the 5 subs, and it's a case of, I don't know, if the game gets difficult, then I really want Kante on the pitch, right? But hopefully, and until we concede a 1-0, the game won't be difficult, and hopefully we just won't concede a 1-0 and instead make it 1-0, and then we can just see the game out, bring Kante on for that. That would probably be the ideal. And also, I think with Kante's injury situation, you probably have to right now, and Tuchel will have to do that too, make a decision in terms of because Kante probably isn't capable of starting City and tomorrow. So you probably have to make a decision. Do you want to start him against City or tomorrow? Or not at all, I guess. But I think that is a decision he has to make. And if it was between those two, I would probably start him against City, because as much as Jorginho and Kovacic are great together and they're press resistant and their passing is brilliant, I don't think even at their very best we can quite yet go toe-to-toe at that with Man City. So I'm like, if we can't go toe-to-toe with them at it, then I want Kante in there, if that makes sense. So therefore I might not start
but
Kante.
Kante struggled against them in the last game.
Yeah, but we were a different animal in the last game. We were Frank Lampard just after we got battered by Arsenal. Like, that was a bit different to now, don't you think?
A difference in terms of formation, but I've always been worried about Kante against the pressing teams, and it's just been proven right every single time. Like, I get it's under Frank Lampard, but the Southampton game we played against the pressing side, he struggled in that game too. Manchester United didn't even press us a lot, but look at the amount of times he turned over the ball compared to a Mateo Kovacic. And that is such a catch-22 with him, because he wins the ball back ridiculous amount of times, loses the ball a ridiculous amount of times too. So it's just a revolving circle. And that's why I always go back to the best defense is possession retaining, because you have more of the possession, there's going to be less interceptions, there's going to be less tackles, but it's because you got more of the ball, isn't it? So that's why I'd go with the pair of them, because, yeah, okay, maybe we won't play as direct. Fair enough. I get that. But we ain't going to lose the ball as much. And we're the ones with the 2-goal aggregate lead. We don't need to be that direct. We just need to see the game out, if we're going to be honest about it, and really delve down into what we need out of the game. Just see it out as a bare minimum. Of course, get a goal or two and make it even more comfortable for us. But if we have more of the ball, we have more of the opportunity. We have more of the opportunity to do that. That's why I still stick with Jovicic, because you're just more comfortable with the pair of them. We have more possession. we do more with the ball, we lose the ball less. I know I'm just finding different ways to say the same thing, but bro, we keep possession more, and like that's the one thing we want out of this.
Yeah, no, I definitely see that for tomorrow. Again, City is one of those where you're 100% right. Keeping possession is the best way of defending, sure. But I think City's press is also so good and so methodical that even Jovetic together might lose the ball more than we'd like. And at least with Kante, we win it back quicker. And Kante just has these vibes that when it's a real big game, that's when he has the masterclass. A bit like the second against Atletico, like he did, the one big standout is probably the Super Cup against Liverpool, albeit we lost on penalties in the end. Like when Kante in the real big games, that's when he like proper turns up usually. So I wouldn't be too worried if it is Kante against City or tomorrow, like either or. But I just think we need to make a decision in which of the two games he starts, because he probably can't start both. Is the only case I would make. And I guess next we probably get to the front three. And the biggest question here is, Dubois, does Giroud start?
I'm so torn on this question because realistically, I don't think he will, based on the fact we're 2-0 up, and inevitably that might leave more space in behind. But on the other hand, the way Havertz struggled aerially and physically against Porto, it makes me question whether he might start, based on the fact that if you play runners alongside Giroud, I think it's not a big issue if he's playing against a high line, because we saw, especially under Lampard, when we utilised, I know Barkley and Mount at 2 times. I think it was Everton and then Liverpool. We played really, really well.
Spurs at home as well.
Yeah, Spurs at home. If you play runners around Giroud, I think it works. But again, under Tuchel, the style isn't as suited to him. Whether he'd play tomorrow, it just depends on what Tuchel decides tactically. I wouldn't be too upset, let's say, if he didn't, based on the state of the game.
That is fair enough. I mean, I've made the case for that already. I have this feeling that we'll approach this game very similarly to how we did against Liverpool at Anfield. And obviously in that game it was Kante, Jorginho midfield, and then we had a front three of Werner up top, Mount and Ziyech. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure of that. And we just played long balls. We just tried to break the lines. And obviously you could argue, and I can't remember who in your channel it was, but someone said, yeah, but Porto's defense is better than Liverpool. I think that's an easy statement to make, personally. I mean, they still conceded 4 goals against Juventus over 2 legs. Obviously, Juve are a good team, but they're not that great. So, I think Porto are good defensively, but they're not, impossible to break down and beat and stuff. So I think those bad long balls that we played in the last leg, those bad long balls that we played to Havertz that he struggled to deal with against Mbemba and Pepe that Dubois just mentioned, if we just played those long balls but just an edge further, and rather than to the attacker to hold up, played over them and for the attacker to run onto, Werner outpacing Pepe and Mbemba seems so nailed on, and then whoever the number 10s are following up on that. And then you can either go for Werner directly to hopefully score. Let's see, he's probably less likely to do so, but he can still make that run and then cut it back to one of the Mounts or whoever else to arrive late and then score. Hence why that might be my front three. I wouldn't be against playing Hudson-Odoi instead of Ziyech, just because extra pace. And I just don't want to play Pulisic at this one. I do not need another injury with him, especially now that he hit that form. We need to keep the kid fit and keep him playing whenever he can, but don't overdo it. So that's my logic to it. Lewis, what front three would you like to see, and what front three would make sense to you?
I would really like to see the same front three as the last game, but I know it don't make sense with Christian Pulisic. So Hudson-Odoi on the left, maybe. I feel like, Hudson-Odoi, Kai Havertz in the middle, Mason Mount on the right. Because for me, I feel like we've had this idea that we play so well with Timo Werner on the side, even if he doesn't finish as many chances as we want him to, because of what he does as an all-round player. If the last game against Crystal Palace is proving something different, let's run with it and see where it takes us. We've played well without Timo Werner in this one. Let's see how we do with Callum Hudson-Odoi, Havertz and Mason Mount, because those two shouldn't get dropped, regardless. Based on their performances in the last few games to Chelsea alone, they shouldn't be dropped. The left-hand side, I understand with Pulisic, Werner hasn't really done enough to justify his spot for me. I feel like we're throwing him in there. We're throwing him in there for confidence, and I can't really be bothered for that. Unless it's a case of he'll have space in behind because we expect them to press us highly. But he struggled in the first leg, and they pressed us too. So I don't know too much. Hudson-Odoi has had good performances on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. He's been dropped the last 2 games, kind of unfairly, but understandable as well with the results that have happened. Can't complain too much. Bring him back into the lineup now. I'm not going to leave him out for too long. So, yeah, Hudson-Odoi goes in replacement of Pulisic for me. That's the only change I'd make.
That is fair enough. We have a super chat by Cedric here. Big up yourself, Cedric. Saying up the chairs. Let's get to the semis. Hopefully we can. Touch wood. You know, like the title and the thumbnail says, can we actually make this dream a reality? We'll get to DuBois' thread, and I'll ask him a couple of things about it in just a minute. But of course, guys, if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. We want to hit 10,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Also, smash that like button. Let me see how many likes we're on. We're definitely not on anywhere near enough. So you can already get ready to smash the like button right now. We're on 47 likes, even though we have 150 people watching. So go down below, smash the like button right now. Let's get to 100 likes immediately. And even though that's not enough for a DuBois face reveal, we'll need to get to 1,000 likes for that. But 100 is already better than nothing. Let's make that happen. And just in quick response before I get to you, DuBois, to what Lewis just said. For me, the Havertz thing, of course, he doesn't deserve to be dropped in the slightest. But if I think about our next fixtures, this is the only game where I would be okay with him not playing up front. I want him up front against City. I want him up front against Brighton. I want him up front against West Ham. And after West Ham, we play probably Real Madrid in the semis if we get to the semis, right? And I probably want him up front against Real Madrid as well. So, and we can't play him every single game. So it makes most sense to me not playing him tomorrow, if that makes sense. Because I know Champions League is huge, right? But top 4 is still also huge. We can't fully bank on winning the Champions League, right? So, and I just feel like Havertz is the only one that really clicks as a striker against all of these teams that we're about to play in the league. So that's my logic. But what would your front 3 be? Obviously, you weren't 100% convinced. Do you go with Kai? Do you go with Giroud? But who would you go for the number 10s anyway? And then again, maybe fixate on a striker.
Is it inside forwards? I think I wouldn't play. See, it's a hard one because I don't think Timo Werner is justified starting anytime soon based on his performances. Although I do understand he brings, a lot to attacking play in terms of his playmaking. He's got quite a few assists this season. But tomorrow, I think Mason Mount's going to be nailed on. I think Mason Mount is undroppable at the moment with his form. So that's one of them. On the other side, it's tough because I think, personally, what I think we'll do is we'll go, like you said, I think we'll go Mount, Werner, Ziyech. That's what I think Tuchel will do. What I think we'll do personally, what I'd do, I think on the left-hand side, it's tough because I really like Callum Hudson-Odoi there on that left-hand side. I don't think, like Lewis said, he's been given much of a chance there, and you can't keep him out for too long. But I'd actually go Christian Pulisic. I think, yes, he needs to be rested in a way because we need him at the weekend. But because we have 5 substitutions, I wouldn't be surprised if he's just taken off early around the hour mark, similar to what happened with Jorginho. That's probably what I would do, based on the fact that he's in really good form. I mean, he scored against West Brom, scored against Palace, and like we saw lockdown last season, when Pulisic's in that run of form, he's very hard to stop. So I'm not sure whether it would do more harm than good taking him out of the lineup and losing that continuity. So I'd go Pulisic, Mount, and up front, again, this is heavily biased, but I'm going to go Olivier Giroud. I think based on the fact that it's purely biased.
I'm all for the agenda. Fuck it, let's go.
But my logic is that I think Porto, they'll press us, and like last time we cleared the ball a lot of times, and like you said, it was a very valid point. Maybe you'd prefer having the pace to get over them and chase the balls, but I just think Olivier Giroud's hold-up play and ability to be quite physical, which Havertz sort of lacked against Porto last time. And if you got Pulisic, who links up very well with Giroud, and Mount running off him, I think it's a viable way to get through them. But again, that's heavily biased, and I'm not sure it'll happen at all. But yeah,
it is fair, to be honest. I mean, I said after the first leg that in hindsight, this screamed Tammy in form, but like fair enough. But because Tammy has always, and I've always said this, provides the mix of height and pace. You could argue Kai does as well, but Tammy has had games where he literally made Van Dijk look like a mug. Like, he's had games like that. So, Tammy a certain day is very capable of dealing with physical defenders. So in hindsight, it probably made sense. Obviously, it's no point even discussing Tammy starting tomorrow because he just will not. Like, we all know that he will not. But it's an interesting one. Like, both of you make a fair point. Like, the Pulisic one is an interesting one, and I saw it somewhere earlier in the chat. Let me just... Where was it? There it is, by Clutch. The question is, do we want Pulisic for City this weekend, or do we want him to play him in the Brighton game? And you could argue the league is more important than winning the FA Cup. Of course, the FA Cup is the easiest route to win a trophy, especially if we beat City. We already have the significantly hardest opponent out the way. But it is a case to be made. And if you want to play him against Brighton, then you probably shouldn't play him against City. But then do you not play him against Porto and City? So maybe Dubois has a little point in saying, just start Pulisic, play him for 50 minutes, an hour, whatever, and then take him off and maybe bring him on for the last half an hour against City. What do you make of that? That question by Clutch, basically, Lewis. Is it Pulisic has to start City or Pulisic has to start Brighton, and how does that influence maybe tomorrow's lineup?
I'd start Pulisic against City. Yeah, no. Well, he's had a good record against them, to be honest, anyway. And we know the quality that he has. I don't want to overutilize this guy. I've said the entire season, I stand by it and I'll continue to stand by it. I don't care how little game time Pulisic plays. Just stop getting injured. So, yeah, he could be a key asset in this game. So could Hudson-Odoi. So, if both of them can be, I'd rather go for the one I know that's not going to get injured. Christian Pulisic still needs to show me that he can play games regularly. And I know to do that, you need to play him regularly. But I'm not risking that right now because every time we give him a run of games, he just goes and gets another injury. Or he goes to do a fucking jog at the warm-up before the second half and he gets injured. Like, no, I'm not over-risking this guy in any length. And I understand why people want him to start. On ability, probably should start. On his form the last few games, probably should start. But on his injury record, hell no. So, no, he can start the Man City game for me. That's all fine.
But then does he not start Brighton either? I'm basically thinking about it in a sense.
Against Brighton. Put Hudson-Odoi against Brighton. That's fine. Interchange between the pair of them. That's fine. Or even give Werner a game. No, low block, maybe not. Actually, no. They have to go get a win, relegation fight, and that we might actually have a bit more space. But
also, I don't think Brighton play a low block anyway, do they?
Yeah, no. Brighton are more. Yes, Werner against Brighton. There you go. And then you can have Pulisic against City, Hudson-Odoi in the game tomorrow. That's perfect. That's the next 3 games sorted for me.
Brilliant. And now, with that said, I want to get to Dubois a little bit. It's the first time on his channel. I want you, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, and by the way, Lewis, I'm not sure if you heard, but they've now confirmed that the game against City will not be moved. It will be at 5:30.
Yeah, thank God, because another 12:30 kickoff. God help me. I saw that Simon Phillips reported that about 20 minutes ago as well. Just great news. I didn't know why it was getting taken off anyway. I understand 3 p.m.s for the funeral, but funerals aren't 2.5 hours long. Unless
royal funerals might be. I don't know.
Maybe, but I swear it's meant to be a private funeral as well. So I understand for the occasion and everything, but not for a 5:30 kickoff unless the funeral's going that long. And I would be surprised if it was.
Yeah, it seems now it's been confirmed anyway that it will be on. But getting to Dubois, obviously he has, like I said in the intro already, probably the most famous thread ever written on Twitter about how Chelsea and why Chelsea are going to win the Champions League. And who knows, maybe the FA Cup as well. I want you to just pick up maybe your 5 favorite facts or comparisons between now and 2012. I don't know if you can reel them off your head, but I presume you can. If you have a 3 or 5 favorites, because I love it. I'm a big fan of the thread. I quote it all the time.
I've got it in front of me now, so I'm quickly going to go through them because there's quite a lot here. I think the one, it stands out to me is the Giroud one, because it's the first time a player has scored 6 goals for us in the Champions League since Drogba in 2011-12, and they were both 34 years old at the time. And one thing about that, obviously, Drogba scores that goal in his last ever game for Chelsea. I know he came back, but at that time, takes that penalty. Giroud could be leaving in the summer, so you never know that there could be a similarity there. Another one, I thought Liverpool losing to Fulham It was the first time they've done that since 2012, and it was at home, and the scoreline was 1-0 as well. Obviously, that repeated itself. I mean, see, this one did the best in the thread, but I'm not sure how it links up perfectly. It's how Tuchel's birthday is on the 29th of a month, and Di Matteo's was also on the 29th of a month, and the UCL final is on the 29th of May this year, so it could link up there. I'll give you one more.
I in a weird way, I know obviously the Fulham one, the Fulham Liverpool one is the one that makes like perfect sense, but I feel like the one that are slightly stretching are kind of the funniest to make it like the thing is not like, well, both managers were born on the 29th, so it all makes sense. It's obvious. I love it.
I'll find one more. I'll go with. Let me see. I think this one, the quarterfinals of the Champions League. Obviously, we've drawn a Portuguese side, and in 2011-12, it was also a Portuguese side in Benfica. And obviously, now we know that if we get through Porto, it's Madrid in the in next round, which is Spanish side. Obviously, we drew Barcelona in 2011-12.
Don't jinx it. Don't let Liverpool come back.
I think a good thing about that as well was Bayern also drew a French side in the quarterfinals, and obviously they had PSG. So you never know, we might be on course to face Bayern in the final again. You never know.
Exactly. That's my only worry. Like the other day, I looked at Bayern's injury list, and my words, they made Liverpool's injury list look like, kindergarten. Like the amount of players they have injured is ridiculous. They gave 2 debuts on the weekend. Obviously, I know Liverpool had similar situations, but they have Süle out now, and Goretzka is out, and obviously Lewandowski is out. I mean, and Lewandowski is currently probably the best player in the world, or at least was voted that in January. So, and Koeman's out, and like it's ridiculous how many players they have out. And people have said that a few times, like, yeah, but do you really want to play Bayern? It's also like revenge in the final for exactly that, and I'm like, yeah, but everything just makes too much sense. If Bayern make the final, like I'm calling it. We're winning on penalties, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. But Lewis, obviously, I'm sure we all know Dubois' thread. Do you have a favorite stat or comparison from that thread that you can think of right now?
We signed Andreas Christensen in 2012, and now he's in the starting lineup. Really big. I don't know. There was a one about the first time 2 English goal scorers have scored for Chelsea since Napoli, and that's something I get. I don't know. There's so many different coincidences, but this is what I don't want us to get Bayern in the final. Because I know if we get Bayern in the final, the only thing they're thinking is these lot gave us the most embarrassing result in our history, and we have a chance to turn it right round on their heads. They will run through us. I hate to say it. They will run through us just for the pride of their own club. I don't want Bayern Munich. I hope on my life PSG knock them out. Tuchel versus his old club, that interests me. Because I know he knows that entire team, all of their players inside and out. He knows their strengths. He knows their weaknesses. And also, they got that bottle job Pochettino. And I know Spurs is still running through his veins. So I expect it to rear its ugly head twice round 2. Thomas Tuchel ain't dropping it twice.
I agree with that last statement. I just don't think whether PSG or Bayern go through, I don't see PSG beating City. Like, I just do not see that. PSG are too... Pep is too smart. City are too good defensively. No, he does. But all Pochettino's PSG do is give the ball to Mbappe and hope. That's all they do. They sit back, park the bus, and play through balls. That's all they do. That's what they did against Barcelona, and they bought it. And in the second leg, that was just even worse, but Barcelona didn't take their chances. And that was what the first leg against Bayern was. I mean, Bayern had 31 shots. Don't know how many on target, but 31 shots. And somehow PSG won 3-2. I actually like this one. The Chilwell Torres goal, or the Chilwell goal is Torres. Both cost 50 million. Like, obviously, it wasn't in the same round, but I like that one as well. Let me just get through a couple of messages in the chat here. Clutcher said Lewandowski is training. I thought he had a chance as well, and then I asked a Bayern Munich fan who I'm friends with, and she said, well, in an interview last Wednesday, Lewandowski said himself that he's not going to be fit or whatever. So unless he's playing, that doesn't seem to be happening or whatever. I don't know. It's definitely a tough one. But lastly, we're going to talk about a few other things. But one other thing that I want to get to is because I put it in the title and I put it on the thumbnail. we're getting ever closer to making this actually happen. Obviously, we're still far away. It's only, 4 games, right? But we're getting ever closer. It's 4 games. It's like nothing. If you think about next season, right? It's 38 games. God knows how many more. 4 games is nothing. And we're realistically 4 games away from making the dream become reality. Do you, without obviously thinking about the thread and banter and whatever, do you actually think it could happen, Dubois?
I actually think it can. I know it's a very optimistic point of view because, Chelsea were in the Champions League after the start of the season we had, and then everything with Lampard, and, it would be a bit of a miracle in some ways. But I think if we get through Porto tomorrow, because I think I don't want to say all this and then, end up being knocked out tomorrow. That would be the worst outcome. But Madrid, it's the big thing is Madrid for me. In a final, I wouldn't mind, you don't know what's going to happen in a final. You can't predict the winner. It's a final. Anything can happen. But Madrid would be the test because they look like they're doing quite well, obviously, against Liverpool. So as long as we get through tomorrow and then get through Madrid, then, yeah, you can believe. But it all depends on how we do, I guess.
Yeah, Madrid is such a weird one. Andreas put it here in the comments. Madrid play ugly football. We should beat them. Madrid are one of those. A month ago, that was a spot-on statement. Now, Madrid are just one of these big teams, and I'm not big teams in England they call Arsenal a big team. Actually giants that just turn up when it actually matters. Every bloody season, the amount of times. Obviously, they only won the league Champions League double once, and they always had poor seasons in the league. Now they're even top of La Liga, I think, or 1 point off. But every year they won the Champions League on that run when they won it 3 times in a row and everything. They never looked good until March. Every season, they had managerial changes and they had this and they had that. And in the end, they always turned up. So 100% agree with what Dubois said. Madrid will arguably be the biggest one, especially because it's over 2 legs. In one game, everything can happen. You can make it happen with unbelievable tactics and everything else. But return leg, you never know. We might have Kovacic suspended for the first leg, depending on what happens tomorrow and stuff. So Madrid is definitely got to be difficult. And, again, touch wood that it's us. And for me, touch wood that it's Real Madrid just because I know I would say we're more likely to beat Liverpool. But I don't know. We talk about the Dubois thread. I'm sure some Liverpool fan has their threads out because, playing us in the semi-finals, the final is in Istanbul and that. I don't even want to risk it, right? And also, I couldn't handle losing to them. But, Lewis, do you actually think it's possible? Or is it just wishful thinking for the time being?
What, that we have a chance of winning the whole thing?
Yeah.
Take it a game at a time, the way I always say it. We've got to the quarterfinals. We are now 1 foot in with the semi-finals. Real Madrid is the test. If we beat Real Madrid, fucking yeah, we can win it. I don't give a shit. We'll say it from the rooftops and we'll say it with the vim in our chest that we actually know that there's a chance. This one is just we're running bands. We got further than we did in 2014. I'm here taking a piss. I've made random edits already. I'm not being serious about this. Okay, I got this one. I got another one. Andreas Christensen here and everything, bro. You already know we're all joking because we haven't been in this position in a while. And we're happy to be in this position. But we got the luck of the draw as well. 2 of the favourites are guaranteed to be eliminated from the Champions League because they're in the other bracket. We only have to worry about Real Madrid. Liverpool we can beat. Porto we've already beaten. It's just Real Madrid. If we can get past Real Madrid with their monster mentality, and they're quiet favourites for it as well. No one's really speaking about Real Madrid too much. If we go through them, no one can say we can't win the Champions League. Now, I don't want to hear it.
And to be honest, obviously because we're past it already, we kind of ignore that. But people were saying Atletico Madrid is one of the favourites. And we knocked them out. And let's be honest, quite comfortably. We weren't struggling that much. If you think about it, obviously the first game wasn't pretty. And it obviously needed a moment of magic from Mr. Dubois himself. But, at the end of the day, they didn't come that close to scoring. The closest they got was that potential penalty that, they maybe should have had, maybe should not have had. It'd really be like that. But it's definitely an interesting one. For the last few minutes, guys, I'm going to ask you guys, do you have any specific topics, any specific questions that you want to put to us? If you want to make sure that, I choose yours to read out, use the super chat function. Of course, you don't have to, but it definitely makes it more likely with 230 people watching. And while I give you time to write that down, a bit of promo, be sure to subscribe. We have over 200 people watching, 230 people watching. So get get subscribed if you haven't already. We want to hit 10,000 subscribers as soon as possible. How sick would it be if I hit 10K? I mean, it's a bit far in the future, but if I hit 10K and it takes a little longer than we all hope, on the day of us winning the Champions League final, what a day. Do you know what I mean? So, get subscribed. The more of you that subscribe right now, the quicker we can get there. So that's brilliant. Smash the like button. Become a member if you fancy that. There's a link in the description if you're on your phone, or a join button underneath if you're on desktop. And so let's see what we have in the chat here. Jester said, to be honest, or to be fair, Atletico drew with Betis this weekend. I mean, yeah, they did, but not when we played them, they didn't. Obviously, they weren't in brilliant form at the time either, but still. Werner to not make Courtois last-minute semis. Hey, I'll drop the agenda. I'll drop the agenda from here to the moon. I don't care. The agenda's done.
That's right, man. Easy, please. And not. Oh, don't put that thought in my head, because now I'm getting too invested in it. But yeah, ridiculous, man. I'm thinking for similarities as well, Jorginho chipping Courtois in the second leg, if we want to go for the Ramirez moment as well. That can be another similarity to 2012 if we want to do that. And speaking of agendas drop, every Yadar can suck their dad if that happens. I don't want to hear shit.
The only problem with Jorginho is if someone played the same ball to him that Lampard played to Ramirez, Jorginho would never in his life have the pace to actually get to the goalkeeper before any defender would catch him.
He makes a pass before he even shoots, and we all know it. That's why it's just a pipe dream. But it is what it is. He wouldn't even be in the position to make that run. He don't even do that.
Yeah, I think it's more likely for Jorginho to play the frank pass and Kante to turn up with the chip.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of someone Brazilian, but it's either him or Silva, and Silva's even less likely than Jorginho to make the run, isn't it?
Yeah, Silva is more likely to do a Lampard from the bench and jump around like a crazy person.
Yeah, or the John Terry against Napoli effect as well. Actually, that's another similarity from the last 16 game as well. There we go, if we wanted to add that too.
There you go. Hey, it's a fair point. Rana said, an informed Pulisic is our key to winning the Champions League. Do you agree with that, Dubois?
Yeah, I think Pulisic, when he's fit, and that's a big thing, because he's very rarely fully fit for long. I think he's unstoppable when he's fully fit. We saw it last season, and we're seeing it now. He provides goals. I think one thing I've noticed about Pulisic as well is his late runs into the box, his desire to score goals, which I didn't see much at Dortmund under Tuchel. I think it's something since Lampard's was under his manager. He was managed by Lampard. He makes those late runs, always decide to get into the box and score goals. So yeah, if he can continue that, then yeah, I think he'll be key. We need his goals.
100%. And to be honest, Lewis, Chester made a fair point. Why not Emerson with the chip?
Oh yeah, Emerson's Brazilian, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Hey, if you want to talk about agendas, I'll drop my Emerson agenda on the spot as well if that happens. I don't give a shit.
See, just to go back to the Werner nutmeg.
Watch, it'll be Marcus Alonso that wins us the Champions League. Just you watch. You heard it here first. It'll be fucking Marcus
either Alonso or Werner, just to shut us up. But hey, in terms
how
of
many agendas are going to be mudded if we win the Champions League? Kepa holding the trophy, Alonso holding the trophy, fucking who else? Emerson holding the trophy, Tammy Abraham, Mason Mount, Jorginho, Christensen. Every agenda is getting mudded, but you know what? Maybe our fan base needs it.
Hey, maybe we do need it. And yes, Mazin, we know he's Italian, but he's born in Brazil, Brazilian heritage and that. Do you know what I mean? It's like when Lewis says he's Ethiopian. He's still English, but, he's still also Ethiopian.
A little bit of both, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a bit of both. Kepa to save the final penalty.
That's deep. That's like saying fucking Diego Costa's Spanish. And, he's not. But he just plays for Spain, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly. That's the same thing, really. Mount with the pass to Alonso and chip shot. I don't know. I don't see Alonso chipping the ball. I see Emerson doing a chip. I see somewhat likely. Alonso will smack it. He might score still, but he wouldn't chip it.
Well, I have a question. I saw this thread. Someone put this poll a couple of weeks ago. I want to know your guys' opinions. Someone said, I think it was, if we get to a Champions League final and it's penalty shootout, do you bring on Caballero or do you stick with Mendy? Because Mendy's penalty saving record is not great at all. What would you do?
Do you know what I'd like to know before I answer this question? How was Czech's penalty saving record before this?
Weren't even that great, I can't lie.
Because that's what I've got in my head.
He had one save in 04-05 against Paul Dickov. He had the 2012 FA Cup final. And other than that, 2010 FA Cup final, other than that, like, I don't even recall a lot of Czech penalty saves. Before and after, it was literally Munich where he just turned up and just fucking balled out and went the right way for everybody. And it was never anybody else.
Yeah, my before I answer your question, Dubois, just get Christophe Lolichon and just lock him in a hotel room for a week with all three goalkeepers and study the living shit out of whoever we play in the final. And just whoever plays doesn't matter. All three of the goalkeepers will save all five of them. That's what I'm saying. Now, as a serious question, for banter, I would say bring Kepa on, because just how sick would it be if Kepa won as the Champions League final penalty? Like, imagine that. Hey, like, you know how when Torres scored, everyone said, oh, 50 million pounds have just been repaid. Imagine that with Kepa, 70 million pounds have just been repaid. But you could make a case for Caballero. If I'm being totally honest, Tuchel would never do it. But would I do it? It's just, after 120 minutes, would we really have a sub left? I don't know. But
I think the stats are Caballero saved 11 out of 33 penalties. Mendy saved 1 out of 29.
And what about Kepa? Because for Chelsea, actually had a decent penalty saving record. You know what? Yeah, it's realistically, it's a better question. So yeah, I would. Lewis, would you bring Caballero on, or would you stick to Mendy, or would you bring Kepa on?
Wait, for what? A final?
Yeah, if we get to the penalty shootout in the final and we have a sub left, would you change the goalkeeper? Because Mendy has been so poor in penalty shootouts. Would you bring Caballero or Kepa on?
Nah. Like, I get it, but nah. I'd hope Mendy be doing the same thing Czech's doing and do some research. I don't know what it is with Mendy with penalties, but at his age as well, I'd hope he can fix up a little bit with it too. Maybe Caballero. Kepa, I'm not really too sure on, even though I know his record's good. It's just his confidence is completely tanked from seasons ago, so I don't know whether I can back that still. Caballero, I can understand, but I'd still stick with Mendy in the moment.
That is fair. I mean, if we're being totally honest about it, like I said, Tuchel will never do it, because as the manager, if you make that up, I know Van Gaal did it in the World Cup and it worked for him when he brought Tim Krul on. But if the manager does that and then the goalie, Caballero or whoever he brings on, doesn't win it for us, and if anything lets one slip, the manager won't live that down, the goalie won't live that down, and Mendy will be so angry he might ask to leave in the summer. Do you know what I mean? I guess we can look at it that way. Mini Ronaldo, dodgy name, but asked, how about a penalty shootout with Porto? Well, I'm telling you that we're just not going to get that far, because we're not going to lose 2-0 tomorrow. So, no. Or what are we thinking? Is that even should we even consider this as an option, guys? Let me go with you, Lewis. Should we even consider this an option? Penalty shootout tomorrow? No. Penalty shootout tomorrow. Will we make a sub for that?
I'd be a bit worried if we even took it to fucking penalties. I can't lie.
Exactly.
I guess so. With the 5 subs, like, we're always late with subs anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't use all of them by the end of it. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, you know what? I would, because I don't really trust Mendy enough with penalties right now. So, yeah, but I hope we're never in that position anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to Els or whatever, Els Wiz. Obviously, the keeper wouldn't be blamed for not saving the shootout, but the manager would be blamed for making the change, because that's not a common thing. I swear, I can't remember another instance where that happened other than Van Gaal doing it again for the Netherlands in the World Cup. That's the only, like, obviously, Sarri somewhat tried, but even that was like halfway through the extra time. Van Gaal literally made that sub in the last 30 seconds of extra time, because you're not allowed to actually change after extra time's over. So, I'm not saying, Caballero will be blamed, just Tuchel will be in the mud, because that's a crazy call to make, and if it then doesn't work out. Guys, a couple more questions if you have them. We'll answer them, and then we'll go through. In the meantime, of course, get subscribed. Check out Lewis, by the way, and of course, check out Dubois on Twitter. Link is down in the description, although I'd be surprised if you don't follow him already. But if you don't, change it right now. Score predictions, guys.
The best scooters as well, or whatever it was that you're selling, bro.
Yeah, as always.
Brilliant. But Dubois, what are you thinking about score prediction for tomorrow?
I think 2-0 again. 2-0 Chelsea.
Fair. Hey, I'd be very happy. Who do you reckon will score then?
I think Mount again, and I think Giroud. They're my predictions.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Lewis, what about you? I can't remember. Did we talk about a score prediction already? I don't remember. What is your score prediction?
Nah, I actually don't think I've named a score prediction on any of my streams. God knows. I don't think it'll be a 2-0 game, even though I'd like to say it. I feel like it'll be a bit tighter. Maybe 1-1. Maybe 1-1. Yeah, I'll go 1-1 actually, yeah.
Fair play. Who will score our goal?
Who scores our goal? Hudson-Odoi? Yeah, fuck it, Hudson-Odoi. I'll say that. Mount's had his moment. Havertz or Hudson-Odoi? I don't know.
And do we score first or do we score second?
Now we score first. Porto give us a little bit of a scare, but they don't capitalise on it.
Fair. My score prediction is a 1-0. I don't know. I just feel like we'll keep a clean sheet, but maybe not score 2 because we'll be too pragmatic at the very end. I don't know who scores. I mean, the easy option to pick is Mount. I mean, he's already scored in that stadium. I know the same goes for Giroud, but I don't think Giroud will actually play, so I can't really go for Giroud. I'd like to say Tammy, just for the man now, but again, he won't play. So I'll say Mount. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow we got a penalty and Jorginho scored. But hey, 1-0, 1-1, which will, of course, take us through. And Dubois said 2-0. I would be happy with all of those results. Hey, guys, I would even be happy if we lost 1-0. I don't care. Just go through. Obviously, it'd be great if we win and, make it more comfortable and make it look better and everything. But hey, if we lose 1-0 and we go through and win a Champions League semi-final, I could not care less. I mean, Kareem still going on about, imagine Willy Caballero winning us the Champions League. It would be good. Presumably also his last season at the club. I mean, maybe not. We'll never know. Jester said 3-0 with Werner, Mount and Jorginho scoring. Hey, again, I'd take it. Some reader, again, you need to send me a message how I actually pronounce your name because my Indian name pronunciation is just doesn't exist really. So a draw again, I'll take it. But ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time we leave it here. A big shout out to, first of all of you guys watching. Again, be sure to subscribe. We want to hit 10,000 subscribers as soon as possible. Smash the like button. Let me see how many likes are. We probably haven't even hit 100 likes yet. So you need to change that right now. We are on 86 to be fair, guys. So just 14 more. But let's not stop at 14 more. Everyone that's here right now that has a Google account and hasn't smashed the like button already, go down below, smash it right now. I'd honestly massively appreciate it. Let's see how many we can get, but we need to get at least 100. Sam works. Yeah, that's a fair point, to be honest. Could just call you Sam. Makes sense. But another big shout out, Mr. CFCDUBois. Again, ladies and gentlemen, follow him on Twitter if you don't already. But again, I really do appreciate you coming on. I'm sure we'll do this again in the future. Of course, my partner in crime, Mr. Carefree Louis G, was also his birthday recently. So again, obviously I said this to you in private and Twitter and whatever. But still, hope you had a great birthday. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Up the Chelsea, upwards and onwards. Let's hope we can get the dub tomorrow. Let's hope we, again, touch wood. I'm touching all of the wood I can find, all of the wood, crossing all of the fingers, let's not bottle it tomorrow. And let's make those semi-finals. Let's get one step closer to making our dream become reality. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. Thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea. And I'll see you next time.